I'm not sure you could give a off-the-cuff answer to this, but it's something I think you could think about. You know, you're a farm guy, and so that's why I'm going to ask this question. There's a story in the news this last week about farmers, I believe it was on the western slope, the grape farmers. And they had an early freeze in 2009, damages the crops. They go to Governor Ritter, they say, help us by declaring a disaster area, which he does. They go to the Federal Agricultural Department, and Bill Sack and the crowd there says, okay, fine, we bless you here with some subsidized loans and other givebacks. You know, it just makes children of all of us, and somehow we have to get those farmers, many of them, if not most, probably Republicans, you know, off the public dole.
You know, there's some really great ideas out there that have been put forward by people like the Colorado Farm Bureau on doing just that, and how they can create more of a market-based insurance approach to a farm, to our farm program that would actually wean off of subsidies and get back to more of a market-based approach. And so I'd be happy to share that with you, because I think they're onto some real good ideas.
Yeah, back in 1913, President Woodrow Wilson and the Progressives sold out our country, and we got the Federal Reserve Act signed into law. We got the unconstitutional Income Tax Amendment 16, which was never ratified by the states. Since then, we've seen the value of our dollar crash by over 96%. And you know, now with this new health care bill, they're going to add another 16,000 jobs to the IRS. That organization is going to have over 125,000 people. It's probably one of the most inefficient, you know, government bureaucracies ever created by man. And I would like that to be something that, you know, if you could focus into either getting back to a flat tax or a fair tax, or something that makes sense for the people, because, you know, that whole IRS is just a draconian institution, and that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting too that what the federal government has done over the past couple of months with the health care bill in particular. How many received a postcard in the mail touting the tax credits that the new health care bill will provide? Yeah, there's a lot of us in this room that got this new bill saying, oh, the health care bill is going to provide these tax credits. But what they have failed to do is tell you that on July 1st there's a $2.7 billion tax increase going into place. They've failed to talk about the mandates that are under the bill. They've failed to talk about the coverage restrictions and the other taxes that will be increased as a result of the passage of that bill. And so the IRS has now moved from the Internal Revenue Service to the Federal Administration's campaign propaganda unit for the health care bill. And again, we have got to do what we can to make the IRS work for the people of the country instead of the other way around. And that means a number of possibilities, including ways to simplify our tax code, which we have to pursue. Yes, right here. There's a question. Patrick, is that your hand?
Yeah. In your 2010 plan, you mentioned balanced budget amendment. You also mentioned two specific cuts, consolidation programs in the state and consolidation programs in the defense departments. Mm-hmm. What other cuts would you like to see occur? Are you going to push to occur to help achieve that balanced budget?
You know, I think a number of cuts that could be made, and there are just a few of them that could be identified. The federal government made at least $98 billion in improper payments in 2009. This is just, if you were the lucky one, you got $1 billion worth of improper payments courtesy of the federal government. Washington spends $25 billion annually maintaining unused or vacant federal properties. There's $123 billion worth of programs that are duplicative or inefficient, as identified by the GAO. The Congressional Budget Office published a budget options series identifying more than $100 billion in potential spending cuts. I mean, the cuts that can be made they're not hard to come up with. It's common sense. If a program doesn't work, then you get rid of it. If an agency doesn't work, then you get rid of it. If a department's not working, then you get rid of it. It's interesting. Washington's going to spend $615,000 on an archive honoring the Grateful Dead. That's our tax dollars. There's another one in here that I wish I could find it here. Yeah, Washington will spend $2.6 million training. Well, I won't even. I'll share this with you. You can read it. You'll be shocked by what they're going to spend it on.
What are your thoughts on term limits?
Yeah, I would support a constitutional term limit amendment in the Constitution to limit term limit, to put a limit on terms.
For how long?
You know, I'm not sure if the right term is 12 years for because obviously you can't have it for 4 years. That would the Senate would then that'd create a little problem with the Senate. But one term in the U.S. Senate, 12 years would be 2 terms. I want to talk to some experts around the country on what is the right term.
Would it be retroactive to Robert Byrd?
That's right. Done.
The border has got to be a hot one.
What's that? I'm sorry?
The border
Yes.
has to be especially the southern border, has to be a hot one.
Yeah, you know, I think when it comes to immigration, it's pretty simple. Number 1, you secure the borders. Number two, we enforce existing laws. Number 3, we actually create a system that is fair to everyone. Because right now you have people who are trying to come into the country legally and are faced with one roadblock after another as they try to come into this country. We've got to create a fair system for people. And so you do those 3 things and we actually can start solving our immigration situation in this country. Yes, sir.
I'd like to see a commitment to never propose any earmarks for our district.
Yeah, I've actually signed on to the Americans for Prosperity pledge that I would never seek an earmark. So I agree with you and would certainly work for efforts to end and ban all earmarks. There were 9,000 earmarks passed in 2010. 2010, this past year. Going back to 2005, there were over 13,000 earmarks that were put into place in 2005. Billions and billions of dollars through earmarks. That's why our budget is the catastrophe that it is. Yes, let me ask. Yeah.
Have you got any ideas on how to convert entitlement spending into discretionary spending?
Yeah, how to convert entitlement spending into discretionary spending. You know, certainly there's, I think the proposed budget for Barack Obama is over $3.7 trillion. A little over $2 trillion of that is entitlement spending. Over $1 trillion is discretionary spending. And so we have got to find ways to reduce the spending of the federal government. If that means finding ways, like I talked about with the telemedicine bill, to actually improve the way we deliver the services this country is providing, that's a way to reduce spending, and we've got to take a look at it.
A comment first, and then I have a question. On insurance, Obamacare. We hear a lot of comments about how private companies are going to increase their rates 10, 20, maybe even 30%. Well, there is now a means test on Part B. My Medicare, Part B, went up 60% this year. Plus, I'm retired military. In the 50s, if you agreed to stay on what they called an extended active duty, they promised you and your spouse health care for the rest of your life. You'd go to the military base closest to you. So Kennedy changed that. We had to go on Medicare. So I'm paying for health care insurance that the government promised me I would never have to do. The other question I have is it the same young man that follows you around all the time?
There may be more. We don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was saying is, if they come and actually listen and open their minds, we're going to have a bunch of additions to the young Republicans.
Very good. I like that. Well, very good. You know, and unfortunately, I do need to go. As Zach showed me the time, I've got to do a radio interview real quick. But I want to thank you again for being here. I know this is a little bit different, but we actually got to talk about some ideas and what we're going to do to get this country back on track. We cannot win elections unless we address the real problems that are facing this country and the solutions to those real problems. And thank you for making it happen in this room. Thanks for making it happen in Colorado in the 4th Congressional District.